2. So, thought creates feeling, and feelings create thoughts, and the combination of them create an overall state of feeling depending on whether they are positive, negative, or neutral. So the objective is to eliminate all the negative thoughts by self-understanding and changes in the real world to get this figured out. So whatever you think, the immediate question should be, how does this make me feel? It may not be the thought itself, it may be how it relates to the other thoughts already live in the mind. So, for example, I don't know if you can see that, these are like lots of black dots, but then if we add one thought to that, that dot is going to appear to feel the same way because of what's already is in there. So the idea that there's a lot of competition in business might feel worse to someone because of all the other fears around, but then I have to learn this and all the problems and interpretations. So we need to be aware of everything. It's not just whatever you're thinking, it's underneath. The individual may feel powerless or demotivated already by the thought constructs already existing. Some thoughts are stronger than others and will cause significant shifts in how you feel. These originate from strong experiences referred to as imprints, so around particular subjects. Sometimes thoughts just seem strong and are unrelated to previous experience, but they are, as there is a lot of bottled emotion already. So we can either have someone who's just at the edge and it's unrelated things, or it can be something that is for a particular subject, where that's a sensitive area. Stress is when the perceived demands placed on an individual exceed their coping ability. The key word is perceived, because it's down to your own perception. Is also when it comes to physical, using your mind too much will get you stressed, and doing too much to your body will get you stressed as well. But a lot of it is perception. Stress and anxiety is similar because they have a similar physical activity in the body and effect on the brain by using the adrenaline system. So once we do, that's supposed to be a brain and a bottle of adrenaline. If you keep pouring the adrenaline in your body, everything's gonna get tense, and it won't be long until, imagine a thermometer and it's like at 40 degrees, then it's like the individual was at 38 or 39 or 40. It doesn't take much to get to that full before the thermometer breaks, and that's where people are living. So we've got to get that thermometer all the way down, and eventually it's just life experience just keeps adding that thermometer all the way up. And then just to kind of compare, so a bit more understanding, depression is the opposite of motivation. I said before, it's also the opposite of happiness. Confidence is the opposite of stress and anxiety. Relaxation is a large part of confidence. It's the opposite of stress and anxiety. And motivation as well. Motivation is the opposite of depression and also stress. Because you can be motivated by enthusiasm, or you can be motivated by what you're worried about, or just by getting into it. So, overwhelm, procrastination are functions of anxiety and stress. Anger is the same emotion as depression. It's an outward expression. Anger and depression, the word when someone's experiencing that is they're upset. It's the same thing. Anxiety is when a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease about something with an uncertain outcome. I believe it causes procrastination, which is one being in their mind for a long time or having lots of thoughts, preventing decision and action, which then lead to depression. Both impair cognitive ability, such as the ability to visualize, to make calculated decisions, and cut off access to resourceful emotions. The brain structure changes, so it is more difficult to relax, and the extent to which you are relaxed is the extent to which your mind works best. Once chronically anxious or stressed, thoughts can arrive quickly and with impact, making minor concerns feel larger This intensity shows that your bottle, your thermometer may be at max, or your habitual thinking habits are now detrimental. So if you can read that, that's just like a number like 1 to 10, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 30. And that's what some people are like. As soon as they wake up, it's all these things firing off one after the other, and before they know it, they're stressed. Because it's like, you can't keep, it's a fleshy biological thing in the brain. You can't keep using it like that. So there needs to be habits of thought and ways you're using it. And again, thoughts may arrive quickly and with impact. So once you're already stressed and you've got adrenaline, you're thinking it's like this, yeah? It's hard. Where other people, they're relaxed. It's more gentle. Okay. Some topics, depending on previous experience, will cause more stress and anxiety. Another is because memory is linked to a chain of similar experiences. So, we have these are things that happen, these light dots, and if it's all around, say, money, these could be big losses. That's in the unconscious mind. You might not be able to remember all of them, but these events were a huge deal at the time. There's a lot of feeling of loss, of hurt. So that's why these smaller things may be more intense, because it's linked to that chain of emotion. So we've got to go in and we've got to find ways to release this emotion. Whether it is an overall stored emotion or subject-specific emotion, thoughts that arrive for this person behind it can be represented in size. Yeah, was it not? So yeah, if my hand's here, it seems quite big. If it's here, it seems smaller. And that's what it's going to feel like as you get better. Things will be less and less a big deal. If someone is already stressed and thoughts that they have the brain is already operating at maximum, the body works in the same way. If someone has already been at full exertion, full effort for a period of time, even small tasks can cause large feelings of stress. When one is able to relax, and the impact of movement and thought can be reduced, though one's ability to relax is hindered if the individual is not able to control their thinking. People cannot control their thinking because there are so many thoughts under the surface that need to be dealt with. So this is, it's hard for me to see if you can, yeah, just about. So you've got the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Some people have all these other thoughts bottling, just waiting to get into the conscious mind. Pay attention to this. Hey, did you remember this? Blah, blah, blah. And either they're being suppressed, but either way, for the person who hasn't gone through all of them and gone one and dealt with all of it, their mind never gets a rest. The conscious mind always has something. Because the conscious mind is always full, the body's not relaxing, the brain's not relaxing. So you need to go through that process. The other problem is a habit of thought and movement. You have to learn to change the autopilot of constantly using the body and the mind. This is done by putting your attention in a new place, and I'll go over that when I talk about awareness and consciousness and the conscious mind in more detail. Different thoughts are grouped together in your mind, much like the same way a hashtag works on YouTube or Twitter. So try to think about stress, worry and depression being a place that you visit with your attention rather than who you are. Some of us just have more search results than others. So you can see the lines there under stress, it's like 8 lines. Enthusiasm, there's only 3. So it's like going on and having a big list of results on YouTube. You're going to deal with all them in this process. So then there's nothing there and you're left with lots for enthusiasm. You've got to learn to be able to change what you put in the search bar. So until you can stop yourself from doing that, just exit the website and realise that you've done it. Yeah. So imagine this idea: you're thinking, stress and enthusiasm. Thinking is the thing you do. If you find yourself just keep your mind going on to things that are worrying you, you just got to be able to shake it off. Yeah. You just stop looking at it, just be able to get out. There's a certain amount of that, and I'll get into ways of thinking later. Like, you don't ignore things. There's a routine I'll show you in the evening when you sit down, half an hour, when you're sitting down and you're thinking through things with your concern at a desk. It's different to walking about and thinking about things. It's going to have different effects on you. So anxiety and stress states can be reduced by stopping physically and mentally and slowing down. For now, there might not be that many entries under it yet. To be in thought is something that can occur through observation, so it's best if your home and work environment are always clear, organised and tidy. Less things in your vision or less times your thinking process is going to be activated. Worrying and stress are generally the biggest causes of exhaustion and depression, often follows because it's of a idleness caused by tiredness, so it should be avoided. There is a great feeling inside of you, but you can't feel it if your awareness is constantly on the pain and tension in your body or on matters of the mind. If it's been a long time since you're able to just relax, be still and feel good, then it may be from habitual thinking and movement. I said earlier that there was neutral thoughts, but the effect is not neutral, as a thought uses energy and overthinking is stressful. If your attention is on logical thinking, then there is less on emotional feeling. Yes, think things through, but do it more efficiently and more effectively with set times, organisation and discipline. Not only will this reduce adrenaline, but you'll find thinking really takes away the joy from your experience of the outside world. Remember how I said happiness is one thing you sit inside and it gets interrupted? I propose thinking actively in the morning or the evening, remaining present and enjoying whatever it is you're doing and working the rest of the time. You can do this by making your own calendars and to-do lists for the neutral thoughts, and then for the emotional ones, there's a process. Life is one long moment, and thinking breaks us down into a series of moments, reducing the joys we experience. If you have been doing this for a long time, you need to learn how to appreciate once more, and you can do this once the sources of thought are dealt with. So this pen, if I was going to appreciate this pen, I can feel it with my fingers and my thumb. Now, a lot of the time when you do a certain kind of job, you pick things up, you move things quickly, and this is what it is. And this is we're all working like this. A lot of us are. So I can look at that pen for ages, and I'll be able to notice all the white. Really spend some time with my eyes, my hands. I appreciate it. It's a way of being. The weight is my attention, so my attention is more in my hand. Whereas when we're in stress or anxiety, it's all speed, and there's no ability to really feel. If I'm more on here, I'm not thinking. Overthinking causes tension. You may notice your teeth grinding and or other body sensations when in thought. You may also not notice this thinking is automatic and uncommon. People can end up in a state of anxiety without knowing how they got there. So we'll talk about awareness at the end. You have to be able to notice what's happening. Developing awareness and an ease of a discipline to keep focus on the current moment and your body is crucial. This is especially important with negative thoughts, as one thought leads to another and then to another. So that's how thoughts happen. We have one, much like there's a chain here, one thought, next thought, next thought. So you need to be able to snap out of it. Discipline. It's estimated we have on average 60,000 thoughts a day. Many of them are repeated. So I think that warrants some organisation. You may find that there are a handful of thoughts that arrive with a positive source of mental energy. They're good ones. So, overthinking dilutes the natural process of the enthusiastic thoughts. And when we're going to talk about awareness as well, like I live in my legs and my feet. It's called being grounded. When they looked at different emotional bodies, I can't remember if it was temperature or there was a way they did it anyway, a lot of the attention was in the legs, because that's relaxation. Whereas anxiety is much more, stress is much more in the head. We'll get to body later, but yeah, these emotional states, they all have processes, they all have sequences, they all have features. Your objective in the beginning is to become aware of the link between thoughts and feelings and then deal with all of them. Okay, we often have the experience of one thing after another, with no space or time to relax or to be able to consider more important things. Your mind needs that time to relax properly, and your life needs things to be dealt with so you can relax properly. So the sheets I'm going to upload will help you. Keep a notepad with you. I'll give you an example of it. Keep a notepad with you at all times, as this will increase a temporary silence, allowing relaxation. Yeah, your mind's always trying to get things to do. In the beginning, you want things to be simple, so break things down to 4 areas: positive thoughts, negative thoughts, things you need to do, solutions as well, and then other, whatever the other last bit is. And start separating from your to-do list to things, emotional things you need to deal with, and also ideas. I will get to the evening routine later. Fundamentally, you want to get organised on what is running through your mind. Do not suppress negative thoughts. You want to deal with them, yeah, to write them down. You may develop, because it's just a symptom of what's underneath. So we need to get to that, and these thoughts you're having are clues as to the original pain. You may develop your own note-taking system with time, though you may have a section for things you're learning about, or things more sort of to your occupation. So for the purpose of this, you're catching thoughts one at a time until you can explore them in more detail. The positive thoughts will be new thoughts that you're having that will reinforce your new world view. We're going to get onto that shortly and why that's important. That's all the thoughts you've already got in your brain, which is what I'll explain shortly. Your new view may also be an old view before you develop mental health issues. For some bizarre reason, having thoughts on paper seems to prevent them from reoccurring. You will not know the power of this until a notepad becomes a way of life for you, and then there is no way that you'd go back. Memory is a much bigger part of mental health improvement than is spoken about. So if you have a history of drugs, alcohol, no exercise or poor diet, you want to keep a notepad with you as much as possible as not to forget important things. A lot of this will be learning new things to do or not to do, so you don't want slowness in recovery to be down to your lack of memory, as this will waste your good effort, which is another loss. Using a notepad will improve your focus dramatically. Try it now. Anytime you think during watching this, write it down. The benefit of having a mind that is clear is there is a space for positive ideas to appear. Okay, so this is some of the stuff that you can download. Right, decisions. Yeah, for, against, what the decision is, today's date, and then the time to decide. Decisions always back and forth. Taxing, and then problems, okay, and I'm going to explain why these are important. Right, so let's see if problems are a big portion of your thinking. They won't be as much if they're written down, so empty your mind quickly into these 3 categories. Take 1 or 2 minutes to do this to gain some insight. Things that can't be improved. Things that you like. Things that can be improved. First off, there's no point thinking about things you can't change. The second one, even things that you like, distract from the better experience of reality. 3, is this it? Are you always problem solving? That's what that paperwork's for your mind. There is a tendency for some people to be impatient, to want to find solutions to problems as soon as possible, and this is detrimental to mental well-being. I propose that you write them down all in a manner that flows easily, and then stop writing once it no longer flows easily. Have you ever had the experience when you're focused on something else and then the solution miraculously pops into your awareness? Allow your unconscious mind to bring you solutions that you need, and your conscious mind to recharge and look at something with fresh eyes. Trust yourself and other people enough not to have to constantly be concerned about how everything is going to work out. If your mind is constantly frazzled, you'll be less effective in improving your life situation anyway. Some people will try this, but then not follow through, even though it works, because of this false urgency. Be aware of that. Keep the following sheet with you where you see it regularly, so the problems can be dealt with sooner and be prevented from becoming bigger. Do not leave it somewhere it will be covered up. Prevention is always better than cure, so keep this in mind when making decisions that have potential risk. Prevent the issue of forgetting or delaying by keeping it somewhere you can see it. Actively write down as many solutions in one go and revisit every day after your break to add more. Highlight the ones with the biggest consequences that must be solved first. That's really important. Again, the date is on there, so you know when something has gone wrong, something's occurred. So you can see how long it's been. People with mental health issues tend to, if they go to a depressed stage, things can get delayed, which causes even more problems. But I'll get into that later. If you're stressed, anxious, or depressed, there's a good chance you have a lot of problems. In life, they do not stop coming. With mental health problems, you don't always think correctly, or you're in a barely functioning state, so it's possible they may slip past you. Your perception of consequences may be distorted, and your memory may be lacking. So don't allow these qualities to cause your problems to become worse. Underneath each problem, there is a space to write several solutions. Okay, decisions. These thoughts are more taxing than regular thoughts, as there is a constant back and forth happening. Failing to make important decisions promptly prevents life moving forwards, and inadvertently a decision can be made for you which might not be the one that you want. Indecision creates uncertainty, which leads to anxiety, as your whole internal model of the future comes into fluidity, rather than being set and anchored. This world model is constructed of lots of different thoughts, which may start popping into your mind again for reconsideration. It's important to realise that with mental health problems, consequences can seem either a lot more or a lot less significant than they actually are. One's going to cause you more problems, and the other's going to just stress you out, and it doesn't need to. Like doing the problem solving exercise, you want to take an adequate amount of time to do this, so you can do it in a relaxed way. Thinking sitting down relaxed is much more effective than thinking while you're engaged doing something else and less taxing. Being relaxed will also allow you to think in both the emotional side of the brain and the logical, rather than just one or the other, which you might be biased in. As a result of intense previous emotional experiences, your frame of reference when viewing something in your mind can make one decision emotionally distorted. Do this on paper in a relaxed way to reduce this risk, so you can look at it with fresh eyes outside of the mind. You've got to be able to think without the emotions getting involved, because it can be the worst decision for you. If you have not made a decision you'd like to come back to later, if you prefer more time for it to marinate, you must write it on your to-do list every time. Like, use a to-do list every day and just keep putting it in there until you decide on something. Okay, so that's that. The problem of faulty thinking. If there is something I don't feel like doing, these days I can think about the benefits of doing it and then feel those benefits. Then I feel like doing a thing I originally didn't feel like doing. This ability has not always been there until I made significant changes to my mind and body. An ability to think through time to see tomorrow, next week, or next month and plan accordingly will lead to short-term decisions which can have disastrous consequences if continuously made over a long period of time. So there's two things here. Not just not being able to feel the potential benefits that motivate. This is why people only really, a lot of time, only do things when they absolutely have to, or leave things to the last minute. But the actual ability to even logically imagine what is there. If you're making decisions all about today and tomorrow, and not taking next week, next month, next year into consideration, it can lead you down a slippery slope. We will make hundreds of decisions every single day, so it's quite clear this is another reason it is difficult for people who already have mental health issues to then change their circumstances, because this isn't working properly. It's not just about emotions, it's about functionality. Individuals also have an inability to widely consider many options and possibilities, so can have their attention consumed mainly on one or two things, which tend to be the things they are most worried or concerned about, which is their dominant thoughts. It's a key word. Dominant thoughts. Emotional, logical, two ways of thinking. A vision to see through time. To feel imagination. So we're going to get all of this stuff dealt with, and then your dominant thoughts will be of enthusiasm, and that will take the place of doubt and discouragement. So this next exercise is going to take out the power of the thing you're worried about. Right. Write at least 4 different outcomes which may be causing you anxiety as you consider these things that you are worried about. Spend at least 20 minutes if it's easy to visualise, or 40 if it's harder to really see, and meditate, or it just means to relax on all possible negative outcomes until the point you have inner peace. Part 1. Repeat this exercise until you can intentionally think about these scenarios at a different time in the day when there is significantly less or no anxiety. Then, if you have that same peace when the worry pops into your mind again, automatically at random, your work is done. So there's a scenario potentially that always worries you. So for me, it was having to do a job on a low income where it really wasn't a good job, and having to do that for the rest of my life. Like, I would have rather have died than did that, because there was a point where I was so unhappy. That was just it. I preferred being asleep to being awake. And this was constantly stressing me out because everything was going wrong in life. I just kept losing more and more money. I couldn't do the hypnotherapy and the NLP because I wasn't in a fit state mentally. Physically, I had a slip disc, and I had scoliosis as well, which meant my spine was bent. And everything was just, and I was thinking this might be it. I might be done. And anyway, it was completely, it was just, every time I thought about it, it would just be complete terror. So I was just working as hard as I could. So, and it was like the idea of house prices as well. It was thinking about how they were going up and how the world economy was going. So it was a constant worry. Whenever it came in, it's like, attack, this is what your life could be like. And especially as I was trying so many different things to try and have an enjoyable life. And it was only when I was able to visualize and that if I'm around good people, then it doesn't matter. And to play it through, rather than and to see it all through, rather than what the automatic fear was. The automatic fear, when it was at first, was the thought of it all being really bad. But as I looked at it and started to play around with it and started to change it to, but then you could be with good people and things will be all right. And that's when it changed. So there's certain things that are going to worry you that you need to play through until it changes the meaning. So any circumstance can't affect how you feel. Life experience will help with this as well. So, for example, I was able to, there's a couple of jobs, there's a lot of jobs, it's like trying to get blood out of stone. Like people, it's all, an attitude of servitude, and they're not very good to their employees, and they just try to get the most out of them. And I had quite a few experiences like this. There was only when I went to a few good environments where you put in a hard day's work, but it was all right. And also, I'd learned about my body. I'd learned how to take care of my body properly, so I could still enjoy my evenings if I wanted to. It wasn't all my only life experience was just my day job. I had that bit on there. So that other evidence changed the vision too. So you've got to be able to, it's like the real world references. So whether you're remembering or whether you're going out experiencing will change any kind of anxieties. And then another one, you want to be able to take the pressure off certain things as well. So people get focused on just one solution that is going to solve the particular problem. For example, they'll wait weeks and weeks for a reply about a new job. Really, it's best to have many different possible opportunities rather than just one. So important, because if you ever try to make something happen, if you've ever been self-employed or anything like that, you're waiting on an email or something like that, it just delays your whole life. So you need many different things, and that's where uncertainty comes from. But anyway, say there's one thing you're trying to do. If you're intent on waiting for something, you can take the pressure off by having 4 different things. It's like in your mind, if you have one thing, there's pressure on it. If you have several things, then it's okay. So if you've got any kind of pressure on you, it could be a fixed outcome as well. So if people are like, I've got to buy a house, I've got to buy a house, I've got to buy a house, when really you could just be, life would be so much better if you didn't do that. If the best life, you can't see what the best life for you is going to be. Like you have an idea of what it is, but you could end up going this way, that way, this way, that way, and it's actually better because you went off course, and you don't know that till later. So you need to be able to put the negatives of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So how could this thing you want, you're trying to achieve, because it's stress, anxiety come to that sometimes. It's all about trying to change things and emotional resistance. Perhaps it's too soon, or maybe there's something you haven't considered. So get off all of that stuff. Okay. Is there anything I've missed? Yeah, right, so this isn't it. We're going to come back to all this in a minute. Well, no, in a little while. We need to take a detour, and then we'll come back to specifically stress and anxiety later.